right, so today I want to talk about IVF and kind of what IVF means, because I've had several clients recently who are kind of looking into that as almost a first choice option. And I want to break down what that means. So my name is Katie. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm a fertility consultant. I help people get pregnant faster. And so one thing that I do is help people avoid IVF that are able to we figure out the reason that they're not getting pregnant, and we repair those things, and then they're able to get pregnant without IVF. Okay. Now that is my goal for all of my clients, but that's not always realistic. Okay. I will say a lot of people are able to pass that step, which is incredible, and why I do what I do. But a lot of times when I'm working with somebody new, they say like, oh, I think we're just going to do IVF. We want some help. And it's like, okay, that can be a great option for some people. And some people, if we have enough information to understand why they need IVF, that may be appropriate. But IVF does not guarantee having a baby. And I wish it were that simple. I wish everybody was able to get pregnant with IVF. And a lot of people are. It does open so many great options. It's an incredible medical advancement, and it has helped so many families grow and have children when otherwise they may not be able to. But it's not magic, and it's not, it doesn't kind of remove every obstacle in regards to getting pregnant. So again, doesn't guarantee a baby. However, there are some people who are really good candidates, and there are some people who I think we need to understand a little bit more about what's going on with your body before you make the time, the financial, the emotional investment. So a lot of times our goal is not just to do IVF. Our goal is to have a healthy baby, right? Okay. So IVF is a treatment. It is not a cure for infertility. So one of the biggest misconceptions that I see is that it kind of fixes everything. And so it can help for some of these more like very specific fertility issues. For example, if we have blocked tubes or we have tubal damage, sometimes that's going to be your most appropriate choice. So blocked fallopian tubes or fallopian tubes that are gone. So those people who've had their tubes tied, sometimes we'll think about just fast forwarding to IVF, especially depending on age. Severe male infertility, that can be helped a whole lot by IVF if we haven't been able to show marked improvement on sperm quality. Okay. So when we have really poor sperm quality and they're not able to fertilize the egg, that is where IVF can step in. Because what they can do is take specific sperm, implant that into the egg, and allow for direct contact of a single sperm that looks healthy. So that's great. It is great for people who need genetic testing. So if we have a strong family history of certain disorders, sometimes people will prefer to do IVF because they can make sure that they're selecting babies that don't have certain disorders such as sickle cell or certain things that we know just have a really high genetic component to it. Fertility preservation, great option. So if you're not ready to have children right now, if you are not sure about the timing, if you are undergoing cancer treatment, if you are needing to get some other health issues kind of resolved first, fertility preservation, this can be a great option. And then some ovulation disorders can be making it really difficult and make it that we need to think about IVF. However, IVF is not going to automatically fix poor egg quality. So we don't have good egg or sperm quality, we're not going to have healthy embryos. Okay, so that is what's really important. And that's what takes 3 to 4 months to improve. That's why I prefer to work with clients for 4 months, because it gives us plenty of time to really hone in on that egg quality before you go in and start your process. Okay, same thing with sperm quality. Other things that it's not going to repair are the chronic inflammation issues that may be pulling away from egg and sperm quality and make it more difficult for a successful implantation. It's not going to fix thyroid dysfunction, insulin resistance. It's not going to fix our severe endometriosis or nutrient deficiencies. It's not going to erase the chronic stress of kind of why you're even having to consider IVF anyways. It's not going to resolve all autoimmune disorders or implantation issues. Okay, so there are still so many things that we need to address and really tighten up before moving forward with such a big procedure that is really can take a lot of time away from your professional life and your personal life. And so I just feel strongly that people need to prep in advance for that before just jumping in. And our medical world has become so challenging to practice as a healthcare provider. I've been a nurse practitioner for 10 years.
Wow.
And it's not a secret that insurance is just poor. It's not great. And it doesn't prioritize wellness. It prioritizes treating sick people. It does not prioritize prevention of some of these issues that can be managed and avoid IVF. So we're working as providers with a very broken system, and that's what puts a lot of us in this kind of like chokehold of like these are our options, because insurance does not pay for preventative medicine. Insurance pays to treat your illness and your sickness and your IVF sometimes, for a very small percentage of the population, at least down here in our southern states. Okay, so again, one of the hardest truths is that IVF is not guaranteed. The embryo transfer does not always lead to pregnancy. We have to get enough good embryos before we can even consider that. And so if we're not getting good embryos or we're having genetic issues, you may have to do multiple rounds of IVF to be able to get the amount of embryos that you want based on how many kids you want to have. So, ideally you go in, you knock it out of the park, you get a ton of eggs, we get a ton of good embryos, we send those off, and then a lot of them are deemed genetically viable or good, but that doesn't always happen that way. Okay. And then we prep for implantation. What can also happen is that we don't get any eggs. What can happen is that we get plenty of eggs and we send those off for genetic testing and none of them are viable. I've seen that happen. It is devastating. And that can happen multiple times. So what are we going to do to prevent you ending up in a situation where you think, okay, I'm so hopeful, this is going to be great, we're doing this, oh great, I'm getting so many eggs, and then we get no good embryos? What does that mean? That means that we have poor egg and or poor sperm quality. And so we need to improve that before going through that procedure, okay? So the success of IVF is going to be related to multiple things. It's going to be related to age of the partners. It's going to be related to that egg and sperm quality. It's going to be related to embryo genetics, so what baby gets because of the egg and sperm quality, and also kind of what you carry. It is going to be related to your uterus and that environment, what's going on with that uterus. Do we have fibroids? Do we have polyps? Do we have endometriosis? What's going on with the uterus? And overall health. If we've got a lot of other untreated or underlying issues that you may or may not be aware of, all of that may impact your ability to have a healthy embryo and also have a healthy pregnancy that leads to a live birth. Okay. So fertility it's a complex issue. And a lot of times people will say like, well, what are you going to do differently than my IVF doctor? What are you going to do differently than my OBGYN? What are you going to do differently? And I can't tell you until I crack it open and take a look. So the way that I start is by looking at your overall health, labs that you've already had done, and really understand what we're working with. And each person is different. I mean, I wish it was the same by now, but it's not. So the twists and turns that we kind of come upon vary vastly depending on kind of what we find, what your history is, etc. So when I am thinking about IVF and what goes along with it, you would not, if you were me, I would not take a plane to Boston and just go run the Boston Marathon without training, without trying out some shoes, without understanding, is my body going to be prepared to do this, without trialing and error, like, am I going to poop in my pants on this run? Okay, like I want to know what's going on and can I tolerate this before I spend the money and the flight and I'm showing up, right? Like I'm going to plan for that. I'm going to be looking for months, if not a year, up to that and start training my body, understand where my weaknesses lie. It's a head game, and so is IVF. Running a marathon, it's a head game. IVF is also a head game, and you have to learn how to kind of get through that and do everything that you can to support your body and brain through that process. So just like you can improve your chances of being successful and making it through a marathon, you can also do things to improve your chances of being successful with IVF. So like we would improve endurance, we would improve our strength, we would improve our cardiovascular health, we would improve our nutrition and pay attention to recovery. Same thing when we're prepping for IVF. So we need to really spend time to prepare for IVF and really understand why are you in that position to need IVF in the first place, to kind of improve your odds and to get the best outcomes. So I think that where people kind of get like in this shuffle of like, oh, we haven't found anything, like it's unexplained infertility, so I guess I'd have to do IVF. I disagree with that big time. There have been so many of my clients who have felt like they are in this limbo, and I know how it feels because I was there too. Like, oh God, we can't find anything wrong. This is going to be my next option. And so it is kind of like you feel like you're kind of compressed. Like, okay, I can't, OBGYN isn't doing anything for me anymore. I've just got this IVF option. Like, what am I going to do? And it's stressful and you feel pressure and you just feel like you don't have any other options. It's kind of like you feel pigeonholed into that one option often, or at least I did. And so I'm here to say, like, we can take a little step back from that. We can kind of fill that space and really start to really understand what is going on with your body and your situation before moving forward with that. So I think that a lot of times those people who we just don't have a great answer for get pushed to that. So in my opinion, when we are looking at fertility and we are looking at who really needs IVF, there are a lot of things that I want to understand. I want to understand your nutrition. I want to understand your metabolic health. I want to look at your hormone health. I want to look at your thyroid function. I want to look at your insulin resistance and inflammation. I want to understand your micronutrient status. If we are seeing signs that we're deficient in certain areas, I want to look at your exposures. What does your day-to-day life look like, and what is it that may be putting you in, that you're exposed to, that could be pulling away from your overall health? So people who are exposed to a lot of chemicals, heavy metals, a lot of toxins in their workplace may have that contributing. There's sleep, stress, male fertility, female understanding, like what's going on with your body. And so even if we have some of these factors and we're improving them, doesn't guarantee that you won't need IVF, but it does greatly improve the chances of your IVF being successful and greatly improves the chances of you not needing so many rounds of IVF. Okay. And that's the other thing that's really important to me, is getting the best bang for your buck. Working with me is an investment. However, it ultimately saves people so much money because at the end of the day, they have had to do less rounds of IVF. I had a client recently who was told that she paid in advance for 3 rounds because based on her age and her assessment, that's what she was going to need. And she got like so many good embryos in the first one that she got some money back because she was so well prepared, because she had done all of the steps, because she had spent months kind of getting her body where it needed to be. And now she is halfway through her pregnancy. So that is so great. So again, there are certain things that kind of make me kind of have honest conversations with my clients about like, okay, realistically, I think that IVF is probably going to be our best option. And I'm very honest and upfront about that because I don't want to be strung along as a patient or a client. I want to be hearing positive things, but I also want to be told realistic things. I don't want anything that's going to impede my success or impede my ability to have kids, right? So my goal is to be very upfront with you about the findings and kind of go from there. So what we can really improve, like I mentioned before, improving that micronutrient status, improving different levels, really honing in on what is pulling away from that egg and sperm quality. So if we think about egg and sperm needing all of this support, if we have stress, if we have inflammation, if we have lack of sleep, if we have sleep apnea, if we have vitamin and nutrient deficiencies, all of that makes it harder for your body to support that egg and sperm quality and can become more challenging as we get older too. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of like the main takeaway, is that IVF is not guaranteed. There are so many things that you can do to improve your outcomes. There's so many things that can be done to prevent needing IVF or to just really kind of hone you, like get you in that direction. So for a lot of my clients, what I'm thinking, like overall picture is, okay, let's understand what is going on with your body. Let's really do what we can to improve your chances of getting pregnant naturally. And sometimes in that workup, we're finding like, this is concerning for XYZ, IVF may be a better outcome. However, we're going to still keep trying in these months to see what we can do on your own and if you can get pregnant naturally. And then we'll set realistic goals of like, okay, if you're not pregnant in this period of time, based on your age, based on our findings, based on your labs, etc., then I think it's reasonable to really start moving forward with IVF. And that number changes depending on the mom's age, depending on what we find in their deep dive evaluation. It's going to be a little bit different for every single person. So my goal is never to convince somebody to do or not do IVF. That is not my goal. My goal is to help people have healthy babies and to avoid miscarriage and to avoid some of these complications and devastating things that can go along with that process. So I want my clients to feel confident. I want them to feel educated. I want them to feel empowered with their decisions. And I want them to feel like they have enough information to really make a good decision. My job is not to make decisions for my clients, but I can help guide and help, break it down into ways that are a little bit more easy to understand, and also spend the time with clients to kind of really have that conversation that, again, the traditional medical model just doesn't allow for. So yeah, that is kind of what I wanted to address about IVF at this point. Again, it's an incredible tool, but it's just one tool and it's not guaranteed. So we want to really understand what is doing before we get to those appointments. So if you're trying to get pregnant, if you are wondering, is IVF my next step? Do I have to do IVF? Like, are there other options? What does this mean? When I'm working with new people, what we're doing is reviewing your history, really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty, identifying those barriers, and creating a really individualized plan for both you and your partner to get to having a healthy baby faster, because that's what we want. Okay, cool. I hope that was helpful. Drop any questions or comments below. If you got any topics you want us to dive into, let us know.